The successful real estate buyer in this market recognizes that the best time to buy real estate was 10 years ago, but the next best time to buy real estate is now. And in a market where we're seeing that properties are selling significantly above market price and that sellers are receiving multiple offers on their properties, the strategy to buying real estate is not necessarily how much money can I save on this house, but what can I do to ensure that I win this property. Hi everybody, my name is Michael Newton and I'm a real estate agent with Coldwell Banker Mountain Central here in Calgary. Today's video is the third video of our 12 video series on how to be successful in real estate in 2024. And so today I want to talk about some strategies that can help you win a bidding war in the super hot Calgary real estate market. So how do you win a bidding war, right? Think about it. You're interested in a property and so are 5, 6, 7, 10 other potential buyers are also interested in that property. And they're all going to put their best foot forward to ensure that they can buy that property and no one else can. So what can you do to ensure that when the sellers are reviewing the offer, that you are the one that's selected, right? You offer the highest price. Do you give them the possession date that they want? What happens if you're competing against a buyer that's a cash buyer and provides an unconditional offer? What do you do then? So here are the best tips that we can provide to ensure that buyers have the best chance at winning the property without overpaying and without buying a property that can be a problem property in the future. So you want to minimize the number of issues that you have. And also, without missing out on an opportunity, right? So tip number one is to follow the funnel process. The funnel process is a process that we use here for all of our buyers to ensure that they have the best chance at finding the right property and not paying too much for that property and making sure that it's a property that doesn't have too many issues, right? So when you follow the funnel process, you're going to be set up for the highest level of success at buying your real estate property, right? Now, tip number two is also related to the funnel process. So what we want to make sure in this buying process is that the buyer doesn't pay too much. And how we do that is basically by doing a comparative market analysis on each property so that the buyer understands what the property value is for that home. Now, if a property is overpriced, then that buyer is going to have that information to ensure that when they're bidding for that home, that they're not overpaying for a property that's already overpriced in a market that's like this, right? But if the property is very well priced and it's priced aggressively, then the buyer will have that information and then they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to offer above asking or what strategy they want to take. So that's tip number two, is to ensure that we do a market analysis on the property to make sure that the buyer doesn't overpay for that property, right? Tip number three is to put your best foot forward, right? So think about what would the seller want to ensure that you win that property, right? So I know it's a little bit counterintuitive because when we buy something, we're always of the mindset of, hey, I want to get the best deal property and I want to negotiate the most aggressive price and all of those kinds of things, right? But in a seller's market, where inventory levels are very, very low and prices continue to go up and you're going against multiple offers, that can actually be counterproductive, and the seller will just go with an offer that is easier to work with, right? So you need to put your thinking hat on and your winning hat on to make sure that you win the property, right? Especially if it's a house that you really want. And so putting a strategy in place to make sure that the price is aggressive for, and appealing to the seller, as well as the terms and conditions and that the possession date are something that the seller would want to consider, is going to be favorable, right? So we want to make sure that the way that the offer is presented is written in a very favorable way for the seller, so they don't have a lot of things to worry about. So tip number four, make sure that you have your pre-approval in place, right? So before you even start looking at properties, you should have your pre-approval in place, but certainly before you make your offer. And make sure that it doesn't have a lot of conditions on it, that the pre-approval with your lender doesn't have a lot of conditions on it. That way you can be confident that when you make your offer, you can let the seller know that your financing is, in very good shape. And you want to be confident in that because A, that will position you favorably in the seller's eyes, but B, it's fair for the seller, right? The worst thing you can do in this market is tell the seller that you're going to buy their property and then back out because your financing wasn't approved, right? And this is something that not a lot of people talk about, but I like to bring it up because, if you're a buyer out there that is making offers and you don't know what your financial situation is, in other words, you don't have a pre-approval in place and you go ahead and you think, I'm going to get approved, and then you don't, then what you're doing is you're actually putting the seller at risk. And you might go, well, I don't care, that's not my problem. But, to be fair, you're putting the seller in a precarious condition. If they accept your offer and then you back away, then that seller now has to put the home back on the market, and they might not get as much money for the home as because it's no longer a fresh listing. So it's not fair for the seller, and I think that is something that we all need to consider when we're purchasing real estate, just to keep the best interest of everybody in mind. If you were selling your property, you would certainly want the buyers to be pre-approved and not put you in a position like that. So let's bring up our game and make sure that we are all pre-approved before we start making our purchases. Okay, so let's talk about tip number 5, and this is a really nice tip, especially when you're in a multiple offer scenario and you want to differentiate your offer from the rest of the offers. So this tip is to make it personal. So write a personal letter, send a personal video, maybe include some pictures in your offer, describing to the seller how much you love the house, letting them know that you're super interested in it, that your family loves the home, and tell them a little bit. If you're a family with small kids, tell them this is where you want to raise your kids. And play to the heartstrings. And be genuine about it. Like, make sure that the message that you're sending is something that's going to appeal to the seller, so that they know A, that you're serious, and B, that you truly do love the house. Because homeowners want the new owners to really enjoy the new home. They want their neighbors to have a new great neighbor as well. People care about these things. And so it's super important to, when you're in a competitive situation, to let the seller know what your intentions are and let them know how much you appreciate their property as well. Okay, so there you have it, 5 tips on how to win a bidding wars here in Calgary. Please, if you find this information useful, please share this video with your friends and family. Subscribe to our channel and make a comment below and let us know how much you like it. If you have any questions as well, you can post those in the comment section. So thank you very much. Again, it's Michael Newton with Coldwell Banker. Hope you're finding these videos informative, and feel free to reach out anytime. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye for now.